Welcome to Pioneer Valley Life. My name is James Sullivan. I'm your host, and we're here in the studios of Easthampton's E-Media. And today, my guest is Thomas Draudt, who lives in Northampton, but is been many other places. We both have been a lot of other places, but right now, this is where we are. And Thomas has a lot of experience in the television business, in the movie business, in all sorts of media-related businesses. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thank you to E-Media for providing this forum for you to have the show.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's I called it Pioneer Valley Life because that's what I know. This is the area where I live. I've been around this area off and on for, I guess, 60 years. And I know you didn't come from here, but you arrived here like in the late 70s?
Late 70s, yep. I did 2 years of college in New York State. Yeah. I was a soccer player at that time. That was my main focus coming out of high school. Almost went pro, but at that time, pro soccer wasn't a thing. There was no MLS, and I would have been sitting on the bench probably.
Right.
I said, I'm going to change it up. And I was taking some art classes and some beginning video classes at that school. Yeah. And I left. It was a 4-year program, and I left after 2. My coach was not happy with me about that. But I moved to Ithaca, New York for a year because I wanted to just go to a place that had a couple, colleges, and Ithaca College had a really good media program. I thought I might be going into that. Yeah. But in the meantime, I learned about UMass Amherst through some family people and some other friends. Yeah. And came up here and looked around, and I was like, this is great. I learned also at that time that UMass had the first jazz major in the country, and Max Roach, Archie Shepp, Marion Brown, Yusuf Lateef, all these. I was just like, I was a big jazz guy at the time. I was like, oh my God, I'm coming here. And so I rolled up and got a place in downtown Amherst, a room in a house, and been here. Well, was there for in the valley for up until '89.
Yeah. Did you play soccer when you first came to UMass?
I did. I had 1 more year of eligibility left.
Yeah.
So when I first got here, I practiced with the team and got to know everybody, and then the next year I was able to play. So I played 1 year with them. Yeah. And it was good. I mean, it wasn't the same quality. It was very high quality where I was in New York State. Yeah. But it was fun to do because I got to go all around New England and play all the colleges, and and I love the sport, so it was fun to do that. And
it was not really a big sport in those days.
No.
It was very little known. When I remember when I was a freshman at UMass, one of the people on my floor played soccer, and I went, what? And you're coming here to play soccer? You played soccer in high school?
Well, that's kind of why the team wasn't great.
Yeah.
It wasn't a place that, if you're a great player in New England, this was not your first choice. Right. But I was here for other reasons now.
Yes.
And that's the year that I started to take video classes or media classes. Yeah. I was enrolling in the communication studies program, which is kind of where the film department is. Or there really wasn't a film making department, but there was a film theory and it was the social sciences basically. Yeah. English, social sciences, and filmmaking was part of it. But there was a group in the basement of the Union Video Center, and somehow I wandered down there, and that's where I met a group of people that were making stuff. I mean, with very archaic, early portable video equipment. Yeah. This is sort of, paint a picture real quick, is that back then, this is 78, 79, 80, there was no portable video equipment unless you worked at a TV station or some kind of a professional maker. Right. Most of the documentaries that were being made at that time were 16 millimeter. They were film. So film was still very much alive. But the stuff that was available at the universities and anywhere really was this Sony Portapack, it was called. It was a 1/2-inch reel-to-reel, black and white, single tube thing. And we were like mesmerized by it. It's the stuff that Nam June Paik, who was the early video pioneer, and many others, were using to create the very first video art. And we were sort of influenced by a lot of them because it was using this, medium that was really up until then very traditional, television, video, and using it in more experimental ways. Obviously, there's documentary being made in the video medium like this as well, because again, we're having portable gear to go out into the field, that batteries that worked and things like that was very rare. And so we just, a bunch of friends, and there's still a lot of my friends to this day, and all of them have gone on to do great things. We would just start making stuff, and and also at that very same time, Amherst Cable Television was the very first cable television station in the United States, in Amherst. Mm-hmm. It all happened at the same time. So we were like, right at the cusp of this new thing called cable TV,
right,
and community access television. That was a brand new thing. So I was sitting right there, and I got right involved, and it was a very exciting time.
Yeah. They have a saying in retail, location, 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 but it sounds like that applies to you as well. You happen to be at the best location at the best time.
That's where we were. We were sort of fortunate that, this community thing, one of the funny things I think about is that the difference between film and video, there's always like an argument between the filmmakers and the film people and the video people. Because I was doing both. I was shooting film as well, 16 millimeter Super 8. Mm-hmm. And we were doing this video thing. And there's always like a difference between the filmmaker, the people who are doing film and the video. Video was like the cheap second cousin that, the filmmakers wanted nothing to do with, because it wasn't very good quality. Film's far superior. Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. But video offered this other thing. You could live simulcast. It's a live medium. You can't do that in film. It also had sound with it. Mm-hmm. Film is a double system situation, so you had to record your sound separately and merge them later and blah, blah, blah. This was all in one thing. So you had sound and vision all together in this one little package, and it was very powerful. And so we did one of the Drake at that time was the place for college kids to go. It was kind of a rowdy place on the weekends and stuff like that.
I'm very familiar with the Drake.
Okay, someone who knows about it. And I think it was downstairs or something.
Yes.
Right?
In the basement, yeah.
Yeah, and there was this guy, Willie.
Yeah, right? Oh yeah.
And we did a show, we did the first simulcast, I think ever, there, shooting down at the Drake, and we called it Last Call. And Willie would go, last call. and it was like, I don't remember if it aired. It must have aired like late at that hour, like between midnight and 1 or something like that, because that's when it was happening. But so we were doing stuff like that, and it was like super fun, and we were pioneers really in our way. And of course, we were not the only ones doing it around the country, around the world, but it was a little pocket of people making stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been exciting.
It was, and then Northampton, quickly after that, got their Northampton Cable Television, community access television, whatever you want to call it. Now they're called Northampton Open Media. Everyone has dropped the television name.
Right.
All these e-media, NOM. Television is a dirty word now. It doesn't, it's sort of an old-fashioned word, so they all have dropped it. But it was called television back there. It still is now, but they don't want to use that term. But Northampton started, and they had slightly. It was a couple years, maybe I'm not sure how many years later, but it was a couple years later. They got even better gear. They started with 3/4-inch cassette. That was far superior to this Portapack stuff that we were dealing with. In the meantime, I had gone to Massachusetts Institute of Technology for an internship. And I chose that. Most of the internships you would take in my position at that time would be to a TV station or someplace that's doing pretty traditional stuff. MIT is where I was introduced to the first 3/4-inch porta packs and stuff like that. And it was a higher quality stuff. I was basically running, they had a thing very similar to the Union Video Center at UMass, a place that serviced students and faculty at MIT. Very strong community of Boston filmmakers that I met there. But then they also had, with this video thing, they were servicing a lot of the international video artists and some video artists that were sort of based at MIT or in Cambridge. And I was there to basically work with them. You know, basically kind of do what Jackson does here. You know, just what do you need? We need to run a camera, we need to edit for you, you need to do this and that. So I was all of a sudden cutting Vito Acconci's latest video, you know, because he was in town, and met a lot of great Boston-based film and video makers. They were kind of more moving into video while I was there. The Boston Film Video Foundation was a very strong organization that was kind of servicing a lot of these people and had equipment and had a thing going on. So I made contact with them and was sort of active with them, although I came back to Western Mass and just, you know, sort of had a long distance relationship with them at that point. But that got me started with better gear. You know, I got more deeply involved in it, and I was like, okay, this stuff, you know, finally it was color. Color. I mean, it's funny. Yeah. Again, this whole conversation, I think back about where I started, and it's 43 years ago, roughly around there from now. You know, a lot has changed. Yeah. People now, obviously, have videos is such a daily thing. You know, people were making Super 8 home movies. You know, there's a lot of people that were doing stuff at that time, but it was very sort of, it was hard to find places to make it, and it was hard to find places to show it. Yeah. So at Northampton, I created a show as a community person, just like yourself, because I was making short video. We were all making video shorts. It was like, shoot it, edit it, get it out. You know, and it was very kind of abstract and fun, and, you know, either funny or just arty. God bless you. God bless you up the balcony. God bless. I created a show called Frameworks that was a video showcase, basically, for anyone in this area, Northampton. That was based in Northampton, but it was anybody that I knew around here that was making short stuff, and put it on my show. I want to say it was weekly, but I can't imagine it was. But it was a regularly scheduled thing on Northampton Cable, the early days of Northampton Cable. You know, it was just an outlet for a lot of my friends and myself to have our works shown. Yeah. You know, one of the things about the early video thing is that it was sort of a counterculture thing, because video and television up until then was very controlled. You know, it's like, it was only professionals used it. You know, TV stations and, you know, networks and this and that. It was very serious. And, you know, right. When the artists got a hold of it, man, we turned it on its ear. We turned it upside down, backwards, flipped it around. The idea was, you know, video feedback, you know, shooting into a monitor and getting that feedback. It was anything you could do, because it was an electronic visual and sound medium that was new, and you know, a lot of things hadn't been done yet, so everyone was testing it out. So a lot of stuff, you know, you probably look at it now and just go like, that's nonsense, but at the time it was like, you know, very sort of pushing the envelopes of the electronic signal. That started my whole kind of early career of just following where the gear was. You know, very unlike today, where everyone's walking around with a camera in their, very high quality camera in their pockets. People like myself were trying to get to places to either work and then use the stuff on the weekends or whatever, just get access to higher quality stuff.
Some of the material you sent me featured some time you spent in Springfield.
Yep.
At the community access TV station down there.
Yep.
You had a program, what was it called? Performance
Showcase. And there we had a mobile truck, 5-camera mobile truck.
Really?
And so I instantly, I got the arts and cultural programming job. My idea was to make this show, performance showcase, music, theater, and dance in the Valley. I was already very well connected in that area due to my time at UMass. I had taken a class with Fred Tillis, who, jazz class back then, early on, and I got to know Fred pretty well. And Fred is really responsible for so many things at UMass for the music. So I was able to utilize sort of my contacts and be able to get the okay to shoot stuff. Like UMass, as you might remember, had jazz concerts like on a Tuesday night. Somewhere in some small hall or at Amherst College or somewhere was, Jackie McLean or whatever. I was just like, whoa. So I was already aware of all this activity. I was, and so I was like, Fred hooked me up or whoever, can I come up and shoot it? Got a good reputation with, my beginnings of that, and the doors were open for me. We did the Bright Moments Festival. That was amazing. Billy Taylor. So we recorded not just jazz, but a lot of different kinds of music. We also did theater and dance. One of the places we would go in the summer times with these summer festivals, we would go to a festival and shoot the main stage all day long for 2 days or whatever. And then I would bank, 15 shows that way or something like that. We had basically a contract with these people just that, they would allow us to use it under these certain conditions and blah, blah, blah. So that was fantastic, and we did over 100, maybe 120 shows in a couple years span, and I ended up winning the top award for the cable industry in Massachusetts at that time. I did the Valley Big Band was a band run by Jeff Holmes and Don Abrams. Don was also part of my crew. He had gotten into the video thing at that time, and we did a really good show with them, with interviews and all this stuff, and that won the first place of this cable thing. So we were really into it. I had a great group of people that volunteered, or some of them worked for the cable station with me, but some of them just volunteered. And it was really a heyday of just doing live music with, I would get a feed for the audio from the sound guy. It's a room mix. It's not the best, but it was better than us doing it. 'Cause that's a complicated thing, and we were lucky to have all these sort of handshakes with a lot of different professional people that were doing stuff back in those days. So it was just a very fertile time, and I think back very fondly of that. At the same time, with Continental Cable in Springfield, they had an endowment. In addition to what they're sort of giving to the city, they also had this sort of grant money available. It seems odd now. It's like, wow, that doesn't happen anymore. But there was like this other pot of gold that I applied for. And I did this show with Avery Sharp called Springfield's Finest Jazz and Blues Greats. He and I produced it together. It was really kind of the pinnacle of the performance showcase. It kind of came after that.
These tracks have seen a lot of history. Part of that history is a cultural heritage brought to Springfield, Massachusetts. In particular, jazz and blues music. Hi, I'm Avery Sharp, producer of Springfield's Finest Jazz and Blues Greats. The purpose of the program is to bring the community closer to the history of Springfield's jazz and blues musicians. We have a very exciting program which includes jazz and blues musicians born or raised in Springfield, Massachusetts, with Taj Mahal, Phil Woods Quintet, Avery Sharp Group, and the Springfield Jazz All-Stars. Hope you enjoy the program.
Yellow man do the skate landscape says, Brigadier with the skate landscape says, Satayon with shelling of Jesus, the sun Sunday with the prizes and surprises, you got the rotten senses.
That series was funded well. We were able to do it, you know, not big money. I mean, for that time, it was like, we're just happy to have anything beyond what we normally would do. But that was a great series. I did interviews with all of them. I did Taj Mahal at his mother's house in Springfield. He came back and he sat on the couch there, and I did Phil Woods at my apartment, which was right downtown. Avery, I forget where, but so I knew Avery from a long time ago. And we embarked on this sort of media thing, and that was a very successful series as well. I shared all that programming with Northampton Cable, Amherst Cable, I believe, other cables. So I was a sort of early involved with the sort of interlinking of cable programming way back then. I know it's still a thing, or it's still trying to be a thing.
Exactly.
I think, you know, it's another conversation to have, but I think that could be sort of there should be more of that now. But we did that back then, so it wasn't just seen in Springfield.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So that brings us up to what, the late 80s? How you were in Springfield? Yeah.
I was making video art at that time, all the way through this period. I kept on making video shorts. I was very involved with, still involved with the people from Boston, the Boston Film Video Foundation people that I had gotten to know pretty well. And I also did a series called Video Zone, which was, I don't know if you remember Zone Arts Center, which is downtown Springfield. It was a very vital art center for all sorts of different things, for visual arts and performing arts and so on. And we did I did 3 years of this. I did 3 years of basically the Frameworks idea, but I took the New England film and video makers concept. I got grant money for that as well. Again, some of it funny, some of it narrative, some of it experimental, you know. And what I love about that kind of film and video festival is that in an hour-and-a-half span of time, which is like a normal one movie or whatever, or, you know, a feature-length doc or something, you get to see 15 or 20 points of view.
Right.
You know, so you might not like one, you like the other, or you go away that night with like your head full of like different ideas. It's a, you know, grab bag of ideas and choices, and I was very happy to presented that, and it created, it sort of continued my relationship with a lot of these other artists that I got to know way back when I was at MIT.
And it all culminated in 1989 when I won the Outstanding Independent Video Award at the New England Film and Video Festival in Boston. And I shared all this programming on local cable access channels around New England.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You know, I did a show several months ago with a guy named Julian Lowenthal, I think it was. And he had recently made a movie for the first time. But he had gotten his start interning at Amherst Media.
Oh, cool.
And so that was one of the things that he wanted to make sure that we covered during the conversation, was how important it was to him to get his start in community TV, because it was there.
Yep.
There was an access where he could say, oh, I think I'd like to find out about this. Oh, I could do it right there. Yep. And it was available to him. And he progressed from there to going to California and eventually making contacts, like happens, and then all of a sudden came back here several years ago to make his first movie that he did up in Turner's Falls. And I think it premiered a couple of months ago or so.
Oh, cool.
And so that, it sounds like you'd be appreciative of the time that you spent in the community TV environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about cable access, I still call it cable access,
right?
Is that it was a democratizing thing. It was when it first happened. Again, like I say, this stuff was all owned by somebody else. Mm-hmm. It was like, and you had to get in line and it was a job, either had a job or was very, very kind of proper, and it was kind of hard to get into it. Community access just opened the doors to anybody, and it democratized this thing called television, and that was huge because it was really a free speech thing in the beginning. That's how Amherst started out, free speech. And we're the people. We were on television. It was a
oh yeah,
sounds corny now, but that was a big deal. It's still a big deal. It's still something that matters. We shouldn't take this for granted that these facilities exist for people like yourself and many others to come down and just focus in on something, tape it, put it out. It's still a democratizing and good thing for the community.
Oh yeah. No, I always try to mention that that e-media is here for anybody to do what I do. You got an idea for a show, come here and just do it.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're here for. But anyway, we've talked about your early years here in the Pioneer Valley, but most of your work has taken place outside the Pioneer Valley.